Okay, hi, and welcome to book 65, week 65. And this time we got The Three-Cornered World by Natsume Soseki. Now, Natsume Soseki is one of the most celebrated Japanese authors of the Meiji period, the modernist period, early 1900. His dates are 1867 to 1916, and he really began writing after 1900. And I think this book was published in 1904. I think that's correct. Um, and uh, it is one of his celebrated books. What it is, it's a short novel about an artist who goes to seek inspiration out in the country in an area where there's a hot spring that he went to when he was younger, and um, it's this title, The Three-Cornered World, is not the original title of the book, but it's called this by the author, by the translator, Alan Turney, because he wanted to emphasize something about the artistic and aesthetic concepts in Japan and in Soseki that may not be as obvious to a Western reader under the original name. So he says, and this is a quote from Soseki, and this is where the title comes from, and it's in this book about here or so. In the beginning, an artist is a person who lives in the triangle which remains after the angle which we may call common sense has been removed from this four-cornered world. So the four-cornered world is the world we all live in, and the three-cornered world is the one in which the author lives in. And I suppose the one way to think about that is in terms of realism. In a three-cornered world, you infuse your art with your own personal position. So common sense here is not the common sense that we might call in America or in the West or in English. It is what might be more correctly referred to as common everyday reality, like the things that we see in everyday reality. So there's a heightened reality going on. It's not it's realistic in the sense that you can envision the scenes, and he paints a deliberate, very vivid picture of some of the places that he goes. But he does this as an aesthetic sensibility, and that's what the book is about that aesthetic sensibility. Now, what happens is he apparently the fictional narrator here apparently goes on many of these little pilgrimages where he goes out somewhere and spends some time sort of reconnecting, and he's specifically trying to get away from some of the cares of the world. And this is going to be an issue as the book progresses, but in the beginning he's just getting away from the external world, and he keeps running into this woman who is the daughter of the person who owns the spa. She's grown. She's, you know, I don't know, in her 20s maybe. And he's grown as well. And they keep meeting each other in semi-erotic situations, but there is no romance in the book. He is not looking for that, and so that's not what this devolves into. But he is looking for a subject for his painting, and he can't find one. He keeps writing haiku and poetry, in imitation of things, because an imitation of the scene he sees, an imitation of some of the greatest haiku writers of the past, on purpose, because that's where his creative juices are flowing at the time. But he's trying to find a way to paint. And he's told two stories as he goes to this place. One story is sort of a local legend of a young woman who fell in love with a man that her parents didn't approve of, and did not fall in love with the man that her parents did approve of, and torn between which one she should take as a husband, and unable to decide, she goes and commits suicide. And the place where she commits suicide has become like a little local shrine, like slightly like a touristy place, but in a very non-touristy place. So there's that. And the other one is the story of this daughter who has a husband, but she has left him for various reasons. And that's the story that's going on here. He goes into this area where these two stories of women are one going on. One which is a legend, and one which is the truth, but maybe not everybody knows exactly what happened with them. Okay, and so he keeps running into this woman in semi-erotic situations that never devolve into romance, And over time, he begins to get a sense of how he wants to write. He goes and there are many aesthetic conversations, many conversations about art and the meaning of art and the place of art and what art is. Now, you might be familiar that Japanese art, oftentimes traditional Japanese art, tends to be very focused on the line and the beauty of the line and simplicity, whereas Western art is a full-blown immersion into a painting. Think about a Rembrandt or a Vermeer or something like that. And so this author, this narrator, has been steeped in Western art, but he also has an appreciation for that beautiful line and the simplicity of Japanese art. And you could actually say that one of the things he's trying to do is sort of combine them, give that sense of more fullness to Japanese art, or remaining true to that aesthetic of the beautiful line. And so, he goes different places and talks with different people about art and gets shown different examples of art, all of which he doesn't like. That's very interesting. He doesn't like anything. He goes to the monk, to the monastery, and visits the monk. And while he's there, the monk shows him a calligraphy, a painting that he's got on his wall. And the narrator hates it. And he goes to visit the father of this woman, and he shows him some pieces of art, and one of them is this bowl that is just, in his opinion, just aesthetically unpleasing, just aesthetically awful. And that's what this book is about: is that search for the inspiration to create and what that creation is going to be. And he's supposed to, at some point, paint this woman. And he keeps saying that he can't do it because she doesn't have the right expression, that he can't get that ineffable expression. He can do realism, that's not a problem. He could paint her realistically, that's not a problem. He could paint her in the stylized Japanese style, that's not the problem either. But he can't paint her in a way that feels authentic to him. And that's where the outside world that he has tried to get away from sort of appears. The younger brother of this woman is going to go to Manchuria to participate in the fight there for Japan. And that impending date of him leaving looms closer and closer as the book continues, and impinges on the world of this quiet, secluded retreat. And at the very end, they all go to the crane station to see this young man off on his journey to become a soldier. All of them very aware that statistically he's unlikely to return. And this is what it says. Okay, Onami, Onami, is the woman's name that he's trying to paint. Onami gained. Let's see. Where should I start? Okay. Look out. There she goes. That's them saying the train's leaving. Okay. Look out. There she goes. Before the last echoes of this cry had died away, there came the rhythmic blasts of steam being expelled from the engine as it slowly worked into its stride, and the train started to move. One by one, the carriage windows passed by, and Keiichi, that's the brother, the younger brother who's going off to war, and Keiichi's face gradually grew smaller. As the last third-class carriage went past, another face emerged. There was the shaggy beard and well-known brown Homburg of the Soldier of Fortune, a character who'd been in the minor character earlier, who, filled with sadness of parting, was taking one last look out of the window. Just then, he and Onami happened to catch sight of each other, but the engine continued to chug on, and very soon his face disappeared from view. Actually, I should clarify, the Soldier of Fortune is her husband who has come in order to get money, and he's going off to the front as well. So this is one last look at her brother who's leaving, and one last look at her estranged husband who is leaving. Onami gazed after the train abstractedly, but strangely enough, that look of abstraction was suffused with that compassion which had hitherto been lacking. That's it! That's it! Now that you can express that feeling, you are worth painting, I whispered, patting her on the shoulder. It was at that moment that the picture in my mind received its final touch. So something about the pathos of the leaving, of the obvious mixed feelings that this woman has for this man, and for her concerns over her brother and this man, and potentially the war effort itself. All of those concerns are wrapped up in that feeling of compassion, look of compassion, and that's what he wanted to see. That's what was missing from her. And so, oddly enough, as he goes out into this external world to get away from things, it's when they intrude back on him and his subject that he finds the thing he needs in order to paint. So, it's a good book. It's a slight book in some respects, very little plot. He wanders from place to place. Even though it's short, it is something of picaresque in the sense of like it's not really tightly plotted. It's not really tightly held together. Um, and it's not meant to be. It's really more of a meditation and a sketch. If you've never read Japanese literature before, oftentimes it can be sort of revels in ambiguity. Often it can be kind of shadowy or snowy or quiet. And even though this is not a snowy environment, that is true here. It is a quiet novel. And so, good, interesting, different, worth the read.